Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jessica Ward King, the StigmaCrusher here. I don't know who needs to hear this. I know that I did need to hear this. I have needed to hear this a lot in my lifetime. But you can change your mind, and sometimes mental health will make you need to change your mind, and it's okay. What I'm talking about is this. I started out my life, my career, thinking that I was going to be some great big research scientist. I was going to discover the next big thing in cognitive neuroscience. I was on track to become a high powered psychologist, research psychologist, and I was going to do my PhD. I had gotten all the scholarships. I was going overseas to do my PhD, and I was, people were expecting big things from me. And then my mental health journey really kicked it into high gear. I mean, I had been struggling with depression since I was a teenager, but when I started my undergraduate, but really when I started graduate school, that's really when my mental health got really, really bad. And it made me have to change the course of my career. I managed to complete the PhD. It wasn't necessarily the PhD that I thought that I was going to be doing. It wasn't all of the all of the great work that I thought I was going to be doing. It wasn't all of the publications that I thought I was going to be completing. It wasn't all of the all of the work that I really planned on doing. But I completed the PhD. I got it done, and that was in the process of dealing with suicidality and self-harm and hospitalizations, and really dealing with living on medication for the first time, and really dealing with living with a diagnosis for the first time, and having to come to terms with what it meant to have mental illness for the first time. And it was a really difficult time, but I did manage to complete the course and complete the PhD. And I should have been proud of myself for that, but I wasn't, because it wasn't up to the standard that I had set for myself. And then to do my postdoctoral fellowship, I got a postdoctoral fellowship, and again, because my mental health was, quite frankly, still terrible, I wasn't exactly up to the task that I'd set for myself. I was expecting to be up here, and my mental health had me achieving down here. And I was doing my very best, and my very best wasn't good enough for myself. And that was really a bitter pill to swallow. That was tough to take. And really what it came down to was that the publisher parish, the publisher parish thing that academia is, it didn't suit the bipolar disorder that I had. When I was doing well, I could publish. But when I wasn't doing well, I was perishing. And unfortunately, I wasn't doing well more often than I was. And so trying to make a career out of that whole ethos of publisher perish when I was perishing more often than I was publishing, it just wasn't working out. And so I was forced into making the choice, but I had to make the choice to make a different career move. And I chose to enter into a career in the public service. And it was a bit by happenstance, to be honest with you, because I entered into an academic career in the public service. I started teaching at a federal institution, a college in the public service. And when I was doing well there, I was teaching, and teaching I did well at, because I wasn't forced to publish or perish there. I was just teaching, and teaching I excelled at. Even when I wasn't well, I could do that really, really well. I could connect with the students, and I knew my subject matter inside and out. That wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't my knowledge. The problem really was the doing the research and getting the publications out and all of that. And so the teaching was going well, and then due to contractual obligations, I came to the end of a contract, and there was no more contract for me in that particular unit, but they could find a contract for me elsewhere in the public service. And so I was like, well, what else am I going to do if I'm not an academic? What else am I? And so I found other work in the public service, working for government, and that started my career. And it was like through happenstance. I sort of stumbled my way through it, finding my way through, making a meaningful career, something that I enjoyed. And everywhere I went, all of this career path that I forged, I enjoyed what I was doing, but it wasn't academia. It wasn't what I thought I was going to be doing. And even as much as I enjoyed it, I still wrestled with this whole that I had planned. I had these plans, this single-minded plan to be an academic, to do academia, to do research, and that if I didn't do that, then I had failed somehow, because you can't change your mind. There's this idea in our culture that you don't change your mind, that you stick single-mindedly to a goal, that it's this stick-to-itivism, right? That the stick-to-itiveness, I guess, that you might call it, that you try to stick with your goals, and it's this ingrained in us since we're young, that if you stick to it, if you stay with your goals, that you really become something, that you could become, you could become the next Nobel Prize winner, or the next prime minister, or the next whatever, as long as you stick to your goals and you don't waver from them. But I think that there's an error in that thinking, because sometimes life happens and we have to waver from our original goals. We have to change our minds. And sometimes mental health causes us to change our minds. Sometimes not in as a grandiose fashion as it did in my case, where it literally forced me to change my mind even when I didn't want to. Sometimes mental health happens, and then it causes us to reevaluate our values, and it causes us to say, hey, I want to change my mind. I want to do something different. And it can almost feel wrong to do that because of this stick-to-itiveness that our culture values. But it's not wrong to want to change our mind. We can change what we want to do. We can change where we want to go. And that's totally okay. In fact, there's something really beautiful about changing our minds, because it's like taking control of our own destiny. It's taking the bull by the horns, as it were, taking control of our own lives and deciding where we want to go, and not just, being slaves to some decision that we made back when we were young, or a long time ago, some decision that was made for us even, but making a decision here and now for ourselves. And I think that there's something that's really beautiful about that, and not at all fatalistic, and not at all giving up. And so, to anyone that's had to change their mind, like I did, it's okay what you did. In fact, it's beautiful what you did. You took control of your life. You took control of a circumstance that was out of your control. You took control of that circumstance and you said, no, I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to do what's right for me in this circumstance. And you know what? As another thing, you can always change your mind again. Like, I always think of it, could I go back into academia? It would be a very difficult path to go back into academia, because at this point in my career, to try to go back and to get those publications and so on and so forth. I don't want to bore you with the minutiae of trying to get back into academia, but it would be very, very difficult. But it's not impossible. I could do it if it were right for me, but I always reevaluate and I think it's still not right for me, because it's still not right for me with the disorder that I have and the way that my body and brain work and my mind works. I still will perish more often than I will publish. And so it's still not going to be right for me, even though it's a nice idea. It still sounds very romantic to me to go back and be that academic that I always wanted to be, but it's still not right for me, and I still am taking control of my life by saying, no, this isn't right for me. And so, if that's you, take control and don't feel bad about it. That's the message today. Don't feel badly about changing your mind. And if mental health has made you change your mind, don't let that make you feel badly about it either. Because sometimes, yeah, mental health is going to make you do things you don't necessarily have wanted to do. Ideally, would it be this way for me? Probably ideally not. But this is the way that it is. And so with the way that it is, I have taken control of the way that it is, and I'm doing the best that I can with the way that it is. So that's it for me this week. Again, I don't know who needs to hear this. I know that I needed to hear this at lots of times in my life. I've been struggling with this for a long time. In fact, I've been struggling with this as recently as last fall. I know I talked to my therapist about it. So it's kind of an ongoing struggle for me, and I've kind of come to this realization fairly recently. So I wanted to share it with you. So that's it for me. Take care of yourselves this week, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
StigmaCrusher.